Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1669. The topic is mindset, and the title is Artificial Intelligence Accountability Programs. So, if you've been listening to our podcast, you notice the last two podcasts have been about artificial intelligence. We've covered nutrition, we've covered training, and you hopefully have then heard why we're covering this. But for those who might be just tuning into today's podcast, one of the services I do with people is business clients. So we talk about just business in general. Over half of my clients are personal trainers. I've been paid to be a personal trainer for over 20 years. I have Brutal Iron Gym for 12 years. So I get exposure and opportunities to talk to other people who are running a business doing personal training, nutritional coaching, whether that's all online or at a facility. I've actually helped people open over 10 facilities. So I really love all of it. I just love it because anytime I get to help a personal trainer, I know that I am in some way helping everyone they work with. So it's really rewarding. Now, in one of the recent conversations with one of my business clients in our weekly Zoom consultations, we were discussing the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, specifically ChatGPT. If you don't know what ChatGPT is, you can go to openai.com. You can sign up for a free account and actually use it. Essentially, it's like a virtual assistant in a way. It summarizes what you would find on Google in a singular response. So I can ask, for example, in our nutrition podcast 2 podcasts ago, I asked for a nutrition plan on how to lose weight from 285 pounds down to 250 pounds. And it gave us some good and bad information, but it gave us some information all in a singular 7-step kind of series. And I didn't have to read through a bunch of websites, didn't have to go through a bunch of different articles. It summarizes what you would find on Google into a single source. Yesterday's podcast, we went through a training program. As an example, talks about the pros and cons. And today I wanted to talk about accountability programs. Essentially, what my client was afraid of was, is artificial intelligence going to replace personal trainers? My answer was no. And there's a lot of great things that artificial intelligence can help us with, but there's also a lot of things it just can't do. So I wanted to talk about in these past podcasts and today's podcast the pros and cons. What can artificial intelligence do for us? What are some awesome opportunities that it raises for us and allows for us? And then what are some limitations? Just that way we have an idea of the good and the bad and kind of where it might best serve us. With today's podcast, what I did with ChatGPT was I asked a prompt. And then we're going to talk about its response and talk about the pros and cons. What I wrote was, write me an accountability program that includes habit tracking for nutrition and exercise that will help me be successful towards my goals. Now, the idea of this is what I had hoped it would do would be kind of write maybe a format or give me a template or something that was like a workable document, if that makes sense, that would account for nutrition and exercise that would help promote accountability. Instead, what it did was it gave me a list of 8 things that would help me create accountability, but it isn't a workable document. It isn't something concrete. I kind of would still have to make it my own. So essentially, it just gave us tips for accountability. And this is the part that I think that AI is going to miss out on, at least for now, until it continues to develop over time. But right now, essentially what it does is it summarizes Google. It summarizes what's on the internet to a singular source. So I want to go through what it said for us, but I want to point out that you still have to do it. There is no artificial intelligence that will diet for you, that will exercise for you. It's not going to make it so insanely easy that you won't have to put in effort that is some degree more effort than what you're doing now. If you want things to change, you have to change. And artificial intelligence will never make up for that. So, what I want to do is talk about the tips that it gave, because they're all really damn good tips. We've talked about all of these in some way on the podcast, so I thought it would be a great review, and just rehash and kind of let us know, what would an artificial intelligence program who has access to all of Google, all of the internet, what would it tell us to do? Okay, so what it wrote: an accountability program can be a great tool to help you stay on track with your nutrition and exercise goals. Here's a sample program that includes habit tracking. Step 1, set clear goals. Start by defining your specific nutrition and exercise goals. Make them measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So SMART goals is what it says in parentheses. Specific, like for some reason it didn't list the S. It did say define specific nutrition and exercise goals, but it didn't kind of specify that that's what the S stood for. So when you set SMART goals, we do have a podcast about SMART goals if you want to listen to it. It's an older podcast. If you want to find older podcasts, you can go to our website, and we have directions under our podcast player there. It goes back like 300 episodes, and then we have directions on how to go back to even older podcasts. But podcast 124, so way back in 2019, podcast 124 is a mindset podcast titled Setting SMART Goals. So that way you can learn a little bit more about that if you'd like. But the idea of goals being written in this like structure is that they help them be more achievable. So specific means it's actually what you want. And what it means by that is, if I want to lose weight, that's not specific, that's non-specific. How much weight do you want to lose? Okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. There you go. That's specific. Measurable, it's 20 pounds. You can actually measure that on a scale. So if somebody says, well, I want to get stronger. Well, how? Like, is it specific? Is it measurable? I want to feel like I have better technique in my exercises. That's not measurable. How are you going to measure it? How are you going to know whether you achieved it or didn't achieve it? Then the third thing is A, SMA. A stands for achievable. This is a challenge because people don't know necessarily what is achievable. If somebody's like, okay, I want to lose 40 pounds, can I do that in a month? That seems kind of crazy. Should it take me 4 months, or is that too long? Am I being too lazy if it takes me 4 months? Like, what is the right amount of like amount of weight, amount of time? What is actually possible? If I want to gain 50 pounds to my squat, can I even do that? Does my body frame permit that? Is that going to take me 2 months? Is that going to take me 5 months? Is that going to take me 5 years? So achievable is challenging because you have to kind of know what is and what is not achievable. R stands for relevant. You want to make sure your goal is relevant, and what this means is you can set up short-term goals and long-term goals. Anytime you have a short-term goal, you want to make sure that it adds up towards the long-term goal. Make sure that all of your goals make sense and they're in linear progression towards the bigger goal. Then T stands for time-bound. Make sure there's a specific time to it. So if you want to lose 20 pounds, by when? If you want to gain 20 pounds on a lift, by when? You want to have time-bound. So that's the number one tip, is to set clear goals. Number 2 is create a weekly schedule. Plan your meals and workouts in advance for each week. Set specific days and times for your workouts and ensure you have a well-balanced meal plan. Great tip. It falls under the category of duh, but it's a good tip, is you do want to plan for your workouts and plan for your meals. Overwhelmingly, what people mess up when they plan for things is they don't plan the time. They plan to do it, but they don't plan how and when to do it when you still have all the other crap you have to do. So it's important when you set a schedule, like a to-do list isn't as helpful as a to-do list with time. I want to do X, Y, and Z. X takes 15 minutes, Y takes 10 minutes, Z takes 4 hours. It's important to know that because then when you have small gaps of time, you know, okay, maybe I can crush Y right now. I can get that done. Or you're like, yeah, I'd like to work a little bit on Z. I know I'm not going to finish it, but I want to work a little bit on it today, a little bit on it tomorrow, a little bit on it the next day. You want to plan the time it takes to do the things, not just that you want to do them. So that's all helpful to make sure that you plan out your week ahead of time. However, you do have to be flexible. We cannot predict the future. So you want to have a plan A, B, and C, kind of thing. You want to make sure that there's ways in which you can make modifications to what you want to do based on things you cannot control. The third tip is habit tracking. Nutrition. Keep a food journal or use a mobile app to track your daily food intake. Note the types of food, portion sizes, and any additional information such as macronutrient breakdown or calorie count. This will help you stay mindful of your choices and identify areas for improvement. This is obvious. Again, these are all obvious things, but sometimes we don't do the obvious, or we get caught up trying to do one or two little things. We forget to do the bigger things. So nutrition-wise, it definitely is a good idea to keep a journal or track on an app. A lot of times I have people, they'll tell me like, well, I eat pretty healthy. And I'm like, well, good God, that word healthy has a ridiculous number of definitions. I have heard people tell me everything under the sun after they said they eat healthy. Literally, recently I had somebody say, well, I eat really healthy. I have grapes for breakfast. And then around lunch, I'm like, hold on, stop. Pause. I'm not as aggressive when I talk to people in person. But the idea is I was like, stop for a second and let's realize that grapes are not a good breakfast. Grapes alone are not a good breakfast. So that's not a healthy breakfast. So we had to go through and kind of fix that. But a lot of times people, if you don't write down what you do or track it in some way, you will lose track of what you're doing. You will start to lie to yourself. You don't even recognize it as lying. You're just going to say, like if somebody said, well, how'd you eat yesterday? Oh, I ate pretty well. I had breakfast. I ate my normal lunch, my normal dinner. But you kind of forget that you had a snack in the afternoon. You forget you had a donut at work. Like you forget all these little things. But you're going to report to yourself or to others, it was a good day. Whereas if you had to write stuff down, you'd say, crap, I don't want to have to write down that I'm having a donut. So I'm just going to skip the donut. So it helps with accountability. For exercise, under the habit tracking section, it says, track your workouts, including exercises performed, sets, reps, and weights used. You can use a workout journal, a mobile app, or even a simple spreadsheet to log your progress. Fantastic. Definitely helpful to have. Number 4, find an accountability partner. Team up with a friend, a family member, or colleague who has similar goals. Share your progress, discuss challenges, and provide support to each other. Having someone to hold you accountable can increase your motivation and commitment. Yes, so this is why with my one-on-one clients, we have our weekly check-ins. We have our Q&A document. They can ask me anything they want at any time. I check in and see what they're, how they're doing with their training, how they're doing with nutrition. It helps a lot to have that, that weekly check-in, that accountability component. With our live monthly programming service, we have our group Q&A document, and I check in on that document every single week. And I would encourage people, if you're listening to this now, anybody who participates in that, feel free to write in, like a recent PR you had in training, or, if you're, hey, I got, 4 workouts in this week, and that's been a big goal for me. Anytime you want to update some things that have been successes for you personally, you can go ahead and share them in that document. That would just be fun for people to have that as a way of supporting each other if you'd like. We also have number 5 is join a community or group, and that would be, for example, our live monthly programming. Consider joining fitness or nutrition groups either online or in your local area. Participate in discussions, share your experiences, and learn from others. Engaging with like-minded individuals can provide encouragement, advice, and a sense of camaraderie. Yes, you can find tons of places on social media. There's different channels and pages and accounts and whatever that can share like-mindedness. It's anytime you connect with people, it does help. For most people, a lot of people I work with, because I'm intrinsic, they're intrinsic. So you might not feel a great need to have like a large community, but that accountability partner component can be very helpful. Just to have at least one person or somebody, whether it's a large group or small group, depends on how extroverted versus introverted you are, would depend on maybe the size of your group. Tip number 6 is weekly check-ins. Schedule a regular weekly check-in with yourself. Reflect on your progress, identify any obstacles or setbacks, and celebrate your achievements. Use this time to adjust your goals or make necessary tweaks to your plan. That's very helpful. It's a big assumption that you would know what tweaks to make, but it is good to have a check-in with yourself every week to see how everything's been going. For example, with my clients, I have them do check-ins with like how they do in their training, the number of sets and reps, how do the exercise feel, what progress they think they should be able to make the following week, whether it's more weight or more reps. We talk about nutrition, hydration, sleep, overall physical state. And then in our journals as well, I have them kind of do a weekly kind of check-in, weekly review where they just check in with themselves. And with that one, for example, we have the date of the entry, so they write down the date. Body weight, on most recent, like Monday and Thursday, we tend to track our weight if they're going to track their weight twice a week. Daily energy, we want to account for that on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being super low, 5 being high. Workout energy was at low or high. Weekly summary, share your thoughts, accomplishments, struggles, etc. of the week. Training videos include any links to any videos they want me to review, and then questions. If they have any questions, they can write them and I'll answer them. So we incorporate a lot of that into our weekly check-ins. Number 7, reward system. Set up a reward system for reaching milestones or consistently following your nutrition and exercise program. Treat yourself to non-food rewards, yes, such as a massage, a new workout outfit, or a fun activity that you enjoy. And this is a really good idea. Anytime you do small little rewards, it kind of depends if you're motivated by rewards or not. But if you are, they are helpful, such as, if I'm accurate with my food at a certain standard, every 4 weeks, I'll go get my nails done, or I'll go get a massage, something like that. You could buy a new outfit, things like that. It's important to just find what works for you. I'm not reward based. It doesn't, it's not like, ooh, I'm so tough. No, it's just, I would rather save up the money and buy like a dip handle. For example, I've been wanting to save, my wife and I have a little home gym set up. I guess I am reward based, just not as frequent. So for example, we have a Sorinex cable column that I've put sideways flush against the wall, so it only sticks out 4 inches from the wall when it's not in use. And on that is a 3x3 post with 1-inch holes, to which I could put on a dip attachment, so I could do some dips at home, which I'd really like to do because I want to build up my chest. And I like dips because I feel like they're horrendous, so therefore they must be good for you. So I wanted to get a dip attachment, but I have some like financial goals and business goals. I won't spend the money until I meet these certain goals. So I do that with business related stuff, maybe not fitness related, but I do that with business stuff all the time. And that's motivational because with training and exercise, I really enjoy it, and it's become like second nature to me since I've been doing it for 20 some years now. With business, I love what I do. Absolutely love what I do. But there are some long nights. There are some times where you'd rather just like take a nap, but you see you can't, and you got to do some odds and ends. So those little things are motivational to kind of keep you moving, keep you on track in pushing to be your best. So it is helpful to have little rewards and things like that. You just want to make sure that the rewards help you. That's why it said non-food based. You don't want to be dieting and then your reward be go out and eat a whole pizza. So you don't want to do rewards that are counter to what your main goal is. The 8th and final tip is evaluate and adjust. Regularly assess your progress and adjust your approach if needed. Analyze your habit tracking data, identify patterns, and make necessary changes to overcome any obstacles or plateaus. Great, but it's very hard to do on your own. If we knew how to solve our own problems, we would get a lot further ahead than what we are. We do have problems that we know how to solve. We are our problem, and we're not solving them. That's some of our problems. But there also are problems where we don't know. We're like, dang it, I'm doing everything I know how to do, and it just still isn't working. And that's where reaching out to somebody can help. So AI stuff, artificial intelligence, it's super helpful because it can sum up a lot of the chaos of information that's out there in the world, but you still got to do the work. You still got to check in with an individual who's specialized in this stuff to get those more nuanced components. So it finishes with a paragraph here. Remember, consistency is key, and it's normal to have ups and downs along the way. Stay positive, stay focused, and keep working towards your goals. If you find it challenging to stay accountable on your own, consider seeking guidance from a registered dietitian or a certified personal trainer who can provide additional support and guidance tailored to your specific needs. And that is true. So AI, if you were to ask it, although it doesn't have a personality, but if you were to ask it what its intent is to help people. It cannot replace experts. It can give you summaries of all the chaos of information that's out there in the world, but you're still going to need an expert from time to time to give you the personalized touch, the personalized way to apply the information. So to the trainer that I work with, don't worry, it's a good motivation to increase your knowledge and be better than what the AI can produce. Absolutely, do that. And they're already hopefully working on that. Everybody would if you're a personal trainer, if you're in this business. You want to do better than the generic. So keep learning, keep reading books, keep watching videos, keep listening to podcasts, learn as much as you can. And as you get past the basics of information, you will be relevant, you will have a job, because AI is really only ever going to be able to summarize the basics. It's not going to be able to do the small nuances 100% correct. And that's where we as professionals can step in and be able to help people in that goal, in that arena, I guess. Okay, hopefully that was interesting. Thought it might be fun just kind of read through the Artificial Intelligence Accountability Program. You can see it doesn't give you a workable document. It just gives you some content and some bullet points that you can then use to create a workable document, but there's still a little bit of work on your end to do. Okay, well, if you have any questions, anything you want to do, any follow-up questions, anything like that, email me at brutalironjim@gmail.com. If you like our podcast, please share it. Thank you to those who've been sharing the podcast. It does help grow the podcast and help us reach more people. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. There is a high hosting cost on all the different platforms, so I appreciate the financial help, so that way it's not crazy pants on my end to be able to afford all this. So I appreciate the donations a lot. You can donate on our website, www.brutalironjim.com. If you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and please follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Jim. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.